very long list of names on that. Those people who put Lee as their favorite author. And around here, I think it's fair to say she also tops the list of favorite people. I had the good fortune of being in the first class she ever taught at UNC. She was about 17. So for the 45 years since then, she certainly has been at the top of my list of both authors and people and teachers. And so it's just such an honor to be here tonight to celebrate what this is. This is a fun, wonderful, it's classically Smith, but it's also, it really is on its own highway, for lack of a better image.
It is.
And it's, you know, it's very, very funny, but it also really takes those turns that you don't expect. So I would love for you first just to maybe tell us a little bit about what led you to it and read a little. And then I know there'll be tons of questions. I want to leave time for you to maybe read a second time.
Okay.
And also answer questions from the audience.
Right. Well, this is my Key West outfit, by the way. And for years and years, my husband and I have been going to Key West most Januaries and teaching at the literary festival that they have down there and so on. And we just love it. And so we've done this for years and years. And several years ago, I think it was 5 years ago now, we were on our way home from Key West. And you know, that's Route 1, which is the most beautiful road in the world. It's mostly bridges, you know, going from Key West all the way up to Miami over the water. It's just like you're a bird. I mean, you're just over the water. It's just gorgeous. So we were driving Route 1 again, you know, and all of a sudden, driving north toward Miami, all of a sudden this big white thing, you know, went across the road and it said Silver Alert. And then it had the make and model of a car, and then it had, you know, a phone number. And we said, what is that? And we didn't know. We'd never seen this before. And then as we're driving along, Hal said, well, you know, maybe it's like Amber Alert. You know what Amber Alert is, when a girl goes missing. Maybe like this is, we're in Florida. Florida's full of geezers, you know, so maybe this is like one of them has gone missing, right? With the, you know, in his car. Okay, I bet that's what it is. So we go on, we go about 30 more miles and we see it again. Silver Alert. And Hal says, he's still out there. And so then we get really into it. So by the time we saw it for the third time, Silver Alert, we have got it so that he's not alone in the car. He's also taken the mani-pedi girl from assisted living. Yeah, yes. And where are they going? So this was the genesis of this whole novel. She's in this book too. Yeah, he's in here. And so this was where the whole thing came from. And I just knew that I had to write this one. So that's where it came from.
Well, you want to read a little?
Okay, I'll read you just a little bit from the very beginning and set up what has happened here. It's set in Key West. It starts in Key West in one of those big, beautiful houses where there's a lot of family trouble going on in this particular one. Okay, and so this is an introduction to one of the major characters here, who's the old man, and Herb. I just love him. Everyone else hates him. I just love it. You know, when you publish a book now, they have sensitivity readers that read the thing to see if you've offended anybody. Well, I'm happy to say 3 of my favorite characters are Black African American, and so they're really looking to see your treatment there and so on. That went fine. Herb, this old guy, he offended everybody. And they turned him down. They did. They turned him down a little bit. But anyway, okay, this is her.
He still offers plenty.
Okay, but anyway, this is the first setting, and you'll see the situation that this book is where this is taking off from. The doorbell rings promptly at 10 a.m., sending its jazzy little Hawaiian tune throughout the stately rooms of their big pink tropical house. Hell, mansion is more like it, in Key West, 108 Washington Street. A primo address, only 1 block from the classy Casa Marina Hotel, and also Louis' Backyard Restaurant, also classy, also pink. Too much goddamn pink in this goddamn town for a man, for a real man anyway. A man like Herb used to be. Yeah, right, huh? Shit. This house would go for a couple of mil right now. The song sounds again through the scented air of the solarium. Big flowers blooming every place in here. Susan used to love them so, bless her soul, and damn it all to hell. We are going to a hooky wow. Herbert Atlas sings along as he pads across the marble floor in his lime green Crocs toward the carved mahogany front door, his red and black plaid pajamas held up by his considerable gut. The blue flowered Hawaiian shirt is open 3 buttons down, exposing curly white chest hair. But shit, he's got to pee again already. He's only been up since 8:30 and he's peed, what, 5 or 6 times, 7 times? Old age is all about urine. Who knew? Who would have thunk it? As his first wife Roxana used to say back in the day, that sainted woman. Bless her soul too. Herb crosses the black and white vestibule to throw the deadbolt and turn the large brass knob. The girl stands before him in a patch of sunlight that falls through thick palm fronds to surround her like a spotlight. She's smiling already. She looks like a kid with those wide brown eyes beneath the blonde bangs, her high, shiny ponytail swinging as she steps forward in her white tennis shoes. They look brand new. She wears jeans and some kind of a pink tunic, professional looking. Atlas residence? Pedicure? Her voice is low, nice. Yeah, that's right, I'm the husband. Herbert Atlas, call me Herb. But I was contacted by a Miss Pat Devine. The girl twitches her nose as she pulls a little notebook out of her big sparkly purse and looks at it. Yeah, that's right. That's my wife's daughter's wife, if you can follow that. What the hell? This is Key West, am I right? We got all kind of situations down here, am I right? The girl grins at him. One snaggletooth, which is adorable. So this pedicure is from my wife, Susan. She's the one getting this pedicure, if you can get her to sit still long enough to get it. She's got some kind of toe problem going on. Jesus, who knows? I can't take her back to the salon where she used to go over on Simonton. They said she caused a disturbance over there, this classy lady. Well, you'll see. Oh, you'll see. So, anyway, this is the introduction. The girl smiles steadily at Herb, her head cocked like a bird, listening. She acts like she's got all the time in the world. Sorry. Herb hitches up his pajama pants. Well, you can give it a try. Then he remembers to ask, your name, honey? Renee Martin. She holds out her pretty manicured hand. Herb is beyond charmed. Likewise, he gives her hand a quick squeeze. Come on then, what the hell? He steps back and holds the door open, only then noticing the big boxy bag she lifts up to carry along with the sparkly purse, and something else that looks like a toolkit. Hey, can I help you with some of that? He asks too late. Oh no, Renee says, and clearly means it, almost prancing through the door. Youth, he's thinking, youth. So she comes and gives a manicure, pedicure to his wife, who really at this point it's very difficult to get her to sit still long enough, for a manicure, pedicure. She loves Susan. She begins singing aloud to Susan. She has a wonderful voice. Finally, Susan just falls asleep. And while she does her toenails, each one a different kind of color, and everybody's charmed, of course. Can you take a card? Pat asks. Pat is taking over the way she does, or a check. Oh no, the girl says with a worried little frown. Cash only. Sorry, I hope that's not a problem. Pat looks at Herb. You got some cash? Now what do you think, honey, Pat? Herb fumbles around with his pajamas to find the famous money belt, then pulls out 2 of the $100 bills he keeps in it. He hands them to the girl. Keep the change, honey. Whatever you did, it was worth every penny. Oh my goodness, the girl says in surprise, opening her big sparkly purse and dropping it on the paving stones. She kneels down to pick everything up, then gives a little wave as she leaves. So she's leaving. Herb checks his money belt, but then he leans over to investigate something shiny he can just glimpse under the frilly edge of a fern on the paving stone. The girl's wallet. Damn. He retrieves it and then hitches up his pajama bottoms and charges across the garden, into the house, across the solarium, past the ugly as hell Chihuly glass sculpture, and into the vestibule, where he throws open the big door to shout, Renee, Renee, you left your wallet, honey. He's almost too late. She's already out on the street, nearly gone, but she hears him. She's turning around on impulse, almost like a reflex. Herb opens the wallet and looks at some kind of ID picture, which shows her with a much thinner face, long brown hair, no smile. Deirdre June Mullins, Mountain Home School, Pineville, North Carolina. She drops her bags and comes running down the walk, ponytail flipping from side to side. He holds the wallet out to her. Oh my goodness, she says, grabbing it, giving him a big smile. Thanks so much, Mr. Atlas. Sure thing, honey. See you next time. Herb steps out the door and stands on the stoop to watch her go, all the way down Washington Street, out of sight. And now here's just a little bit from her point of view. I just love her. Okay. I swear, and she talks in the first person just all the time. I swear it was all I could do to keep from skipping all the way down Washington Street, skipping just like me and Martha used to do coming up the holler after the school bus let us off up home. Skipping and jumping for joy with $200 bills just burning a hole in my purse. And plenty more where that came from. I know a good thing when I see it. And I was going to jump right on this one. That poor sick lady and that wild old man, they need me. They got a bad situation over there, and I'm the girl for the job. I'm real good at making people feel better, even though Paula said I had to get over that and just think about what was good for Dee Dee. Well, I thought, this is good for Dee Dee for sure. I could just see myself going over to that big pink house again and again, giving everybody over there manicures and massages, whatever they want. I can just say I'm a trained massage therapist. Why not? Anybody can rub on people and make them feel better. Old people just like to be touched. Anyway, nobody touches them anymore because they've gotten so old and icky. It's real sad, but I don't mind a bit. So there she is, and that's a situation, and she will very soon make herself indispensable, you know, and everyone will love her, etc., until the time comes when the family intervenes as Susan gets worse and worse and decides to send, as happens so much, decides to send this elderly couple to the home, right? And of course, they're going to send her first to the memory unit, and then they are supposed to, Herb is supposed to go. And by this time, he's become, very close with the manicurist, as you can imagine, with Dee Dee. And the very day, the last day when everybody's packing things up, Herb suddenly finds a key in an old tennis shoe that he didn't realize, he finds it, and that is the key to his Porsche Carrera, which they took away from him and said he could not drive anymore, okay? And so he gets the key. Dee Dee's there to tell him goodbye, and he says, well, come around to the garage with me, honey. And he says, you want to take a little ride? And she says, well, sure. When this car, and she calls it, and she looks at it, and she says, porch? A porch car? She says, I had never been in a porch car. But anyway, so she gets in the car, and they start driving around, and soon they are driving up Route 1. Just a little joyride, and they just keep driving up Route 1. That is there we go. Thank you.
Dee Dee is such a wonderful character, and I love the way, we meet Renee, but then within, at the end of the first chapter, we know she has this other name, this other whole history, which is not funny at all.
No,
And,
it's very
and
serious.
part of Dee Dee's Key West story is she has found this young man she's really enamored of. And I love this sentence. You've got this great sentence because she keeps going to see this young man and she thinks she's madly in love with him. And she says at one point, Willie is either very rich or he's very poor. And it made me laugh out loud because I knew what you were saying about him. And it also leads you into what is a lot of discussion about class differences.
Yes.
I mean, you've got
Yes.
Herb on one hand and what he's come into by way of Susan, and you've got Dee Dee and the way she has been raised.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, you know, you're mixing it all up. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about, well, what you're doing there with these class distinctions.
Well, it's true, and until you said that, I had not thought about that. But Susan herself, the beloved wife who has Alzheimer's, was an artist and then ran an art gallery, and and writes poems, and she thinks in poems now when she's thinking. So her thoughts are all in poetry here. And so that's one class. That's one very cultured, lovely kind of person. You know, Herb is just, you know, let's make a buck. You know, and he's just, I love Herb. But it's a different, you know, it's a different kind of class that's there. And then you have Dee Dee, who has had as hard a time as you can possibly imagine, as anybody could imagine. And so there's another class, and this boy that she's in love with and understands nothing about. He's skipping out of Harvard for a while. His family is very, very wealthy. His mother's an artist who actually has a studio down there, which is where he's staying. And, you know, he's just kind of having a little vacation from school. And she doesn't have a clue, Dee Dee, how to consider him. She's never known anybody whatsoever like him. So there's a lot of that, I think, in this book. And I didn't think about that at all.
Well, because he's kind of slumming in a certain way, and she's trying to figure it out. So
and she wants to get married.
I love the kind of naive wistfulness that sentence comes out, because I laughed about he's either really rich or really poor. But then I kept thinking about it.
Yeah.
Because she's looking at all these other people trying to imagine herself.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really hard for her to understand somebody like that who is just on purpose, you know, has very few, just has some jeans, he's wearing some jeans and so on. And in his mother's studio, she doesn't know it's his mother's studio, you know. So. Yeah.
Yes. And he clearly is not reading the relationship the same way she is.
No.
And you mentioned wonderful Susan. And I have to say, again, the poems that you're referring to, again, put us really on that cusp of what I almost laugh. And then it's kind of sad too. You know, the way she gets on a particular color and names everything. So like the red, you know, is very poetic with different reds, but then it ends with spaghetti.
Well, Dee Dee gets her a big easel kind of thing, and so she can go like this, and she has like red, and then she's making up in her head a red poem and different things, because it's all about art sort of too, I think.
It is.
And she was the real artist. Yeah.
It's just
and you have to love her. Yeah.
But words like spaghetti.
Right. Right. That's right.
There are a lot of left turns. I'll stick with the analogy. You take a lot of left turns, many into humor.
Yeah.
And Herb, they may have toned Herb. I know they toned Herb down some, but Herb is still, he's great. I mean, he's a wonderful.
I love Herb.
He's a wonderful character. He has no filter whatsoever, you know. So it was clear you had fun, and I'm sure his lack of filter is probably what led the sensitivity people to extract some little bit.
Sensitivity people say, "Why would we want to spend even 5 minutes with this man?" Whoa.
But
I said, I don't know.
He's trying, you know. There's something in the whole experience.
Oh yeah.
And the
He has a good heart.
And the genuine love that he has for his wife.
That's true. And then when he and Dee Dee get in the car and start driving up the Keys, you know, they're just a wonderful twosome, and he's very considerate of her, and so on, you know. So can I read one little thing from the Green Turtle Inn?
Yes, and I had another.
Oh no, you tell me.
No, I was so amused when Herb was in the hospital, and he's seeing everything different. He says it's like a hotel, and the nurses have quit wearing white nurse uniforms. Now they're all wearing pajamas. And his descriptions of everything, it's like he has lived under a rock.
He wouldn't go to the doctor. He wouldn't go, and they've all started wearing those pajamas.
No, it's just he had me laughing too many times to count. So you go back to what you were.
No, I was just going to say that unfortunately Dee Dee has gotten herself pregnant because she thinks this boy is so sweet and saying he seems to like her so much, and you know, so she's pregnant. She thinks it's wonderful. So anyway, they are they stop driving up the Keys. You know, they're taking a joyride, we would say, and she's pregnant. We know that now. And they stop at the Green Turtle Inn, the famous Green Turtle Inn, if you've ever driven up Route 1. And this is her talking. Mr. Atlas orders a pina colada for himself and a glass of Pinot Grigio for me. I'm not supposed to drink, I say immediately, but he just says, oh, come on, nobody's supposed to drink. Have you got any chips, I ask, and the waiter smiles and nods and brings us a whole bowl of tortilla chips and some hummus and nuts too, along with our drinks. For lunch, I have a fish sandwich with fries and coleslaw because I know I have got to eat my vegetables since I'm eating for 2 now. And Mr. Atlas has a big cheeseburger and fries, which I know darn well he is not supposed to eat. He is going to die before we ever get back to Key West, and then everybody is going to be so mad at me. But that doesn't seem to matter so much right now. It doesn't matter at all with my second glass of Pinot Grigio. That's a girl, Mr. Atlas says. A lady bartender at the bar keeps looking at me, and when I get up to go back to the bathroom, she follows me down the little hall and says, honey, are you okay? Are you here of your own free will? And I give her a big smile and say, yes, ma'am, I'm with my grandfather.
They are quite a pair.
They are quite a pair, I know.
Questions from the audience? I mean, I don't want you to give too much away.
I won't. Later, I'll read that one other section, but later.
Well, I know.
Other questions or anything?
It seemed a good place to pause. Jamie.
Thank you for the Renee Martin.
Oh.
It's an inside joke if anyone goes to other events in the area.
Quail Ridge.
It's an Easter egg.
What about Pat Devine? Is that just...
No, I don't know. Is there a real Pat Devine?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
She used to be a judge.
She's
We-
I know her. Oh my God. Oh my God. I have to contact her.
I thought you did Pat Devine and Renee Martin on purpose.
No, I did not. Well,
Well, they will be flattered.
Oh my goodness.
because Because sometimes, you know, there's
I
an
did not-
option to like put your name in a book. I just thought Pat Devine got it.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I didn't even think of that. I don't know why. I mean, subconsciously, I obviously did. Oh, I hope it.
Well, she'll like it.
We hope so.
She has a very good heart.
Well, she does have. She does have a good heart. That's true.
And Renee Martin, definitely. She's the star.
That's right.
Set the bar really high.
Yeah. See.
Jill was in the first class you taught. at
Jill was
NC
in the
State,
very first class I taught
and I
at
was
the
in the
college
very
level.
last class you taught.
Yes.
I hope I had nothing to do with you quitting.
You certainly did not.
Where was that class?
NC State.
And NC State. And he's a
fantastic.
wonderful. He is a wonderful writer. Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm so pleased to see you. This is so great. Yeah.
Any other? Yes.
As someone that loves your loyalty to Virginia and North Carolina, but where I grew up, but I've also lived in St. Petersburg, Florida for 25 years. Are we losing you to Florida? And we shouldn't stereotype, but how do you generalize the characters in North Carolina and Virginia as how are they different from the characters you can create in Florida?
Oh, that's interesting. No, I don't know. As I say, we have gone to Key West maybe 30 years. And so I feel familiar enough with it to set a book there, I guess. And I think in Key West,
Your last was Key West.
yeah. But I think that in Key West the characters are, you know, just much more. They can be anybody much more flamboyantly, you know, than they can here, and so on. And so that's a fun place to set a book, and particularly to set this kind of a book. You know, I don't know. I'm a writer who is very much tied to place, and I think the place does within my work always determine the kinds of characters and these sort of outre, exceptional people with no filter, or people, you know, wild kinds of people. I think you do find in Key West too, because you know,
like Florida man, you know, the meme Florida man.
Oh yeah.
Eats an alligator, or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So Florida man.
Yeah, Florida. That's right.
So you can create characters there that are maybe not as likely to be in North Carolina.
Well, yeah, and you know, these wild kinds of characters, and anything goes in a way, which is very. As one boy down there said to me one time, well, it'll free you up some.
Well, and your Blue Marlin really grew out of
That's right.
childhood.
Yes, I spent.
Trips.
This is a short novel, and a short novel before it was my novel Blue Marlin, where my parents and I lived down in Key West for 6 months. They had both had nervous breakdowns at the same time, and the doctor said he was in one hospital, she was in another, and the doctor, the psychoanalyst at UVA, where my mother had been, suggested that maybe they should just take a trip together before they went back to living in their own home in Grundy, Virginia again, after him in one hospital and her in another, you know, for so long. And so Daddy decided that we were going to go to Key West because he'd been stationed at the Navy station in Key West in the war. And so we did. My parents and I went to Key West. They were hardly speaking to each other at the time in this big core. You know, nobody speaking. But we went to Key West, and then things went well, you know. And so they came back and went back to Grundy, Virginia, and he ran his dime store for 40 more years or whatever. She taught school. But anyway, I had this big Key West kind of history. So that's what Blue Marlin is about. Yeah, it's about that trip, and so then this is about another Key West trip. Yeah.
Are there others before Lee reads a little more? Yeah.
I have a question. You told us a little bit about the inspiration for this story.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could tell us about your process, like how do you move from inspiration? Where did you start with this novel, and maybe how has your process changed over time, over your career?
I think each book sort of brings its own demands. I mean, there's something that gets you going, and it was being in the car driving up, and so I thought of the trip, and then I had to make up everything that would have led to such a trip, and make up the characters and make up, why are they on that trip, and because I sort of knew what the trip would be in a certain way.
Was her first?
Yes, yes, her was first, and then Dee Dee, when she came on though, just came fully formed, and I loved Dee Dee. I just loved her. So it takes me a long time to get the characters, but they are, I think, inevitably tied to place. And both of those characters could be found easily in Key West and not many other places. I think so. Place is always, it's not Southern, but it's always very, very important to whatever I'm writing, I think.
And of course, Dee Dee's past really connects with your Appalachian
It does.
roots.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, very much. Yes.
Yeah.
And Dee Dee has been through a lot. So, and she does have this whole Appalachian past and difficult past that she was. A lot of people in Key West are there because they're running away from somewhere else, in a certain way.
And with your process, I still picture you with a legal pad and a longhand.
I write longhand on my legal pads. Yeah. I have 1,000. And that's what I do. I can only write fiction. I used to be a journalist too, believe it or not, had to tell the truth. And I can write nonfiction, straight on the was typewriter or computer, but I have to write fiction longhand on yellow pads, or I can't write it. So it only brings itself, when I do that, and I still do it that way.
What kind of pen do you use?
Ballpoint, any pen, any kind of pen, yeah. But it's like if you get used to something, you just keep on doing it that way, kind of. I think. So, I mean, if it works, don't fix it. That's the thing, yeah.
And yes.
So, do you then type it up, or have someone type it up? Have you edit it then on?
Oh yeah, I type it on the computer, and then you can really edit, of course, which you cannot do in longhand. And I really appreciate the computer, a whole lot at that point. So sure, yeah.
Yes.
So, does your publisher put pressure on you, so to speak? Like, we want a book from you, one a year, one every 2 years. How does that relationship work?
No, they don't. Do you feel like that? No, we are both publishing with Algonquin.
Her editor is here in the
My
office.
editor is here. Kathy Porey. Where is Kathy?
She's right over
there.
here.
There she is, right there. Yay. But no, I think Kathy just is ready to look at something when you get it written. When you get it written, and you don't feel that kind of pressure, which is great. I think, because I think people, and I have several good friends who are genre writers of one kind or another, and they really feel a whole lot of pressure. It's like product, in a certain way to get it out there, and I think that would be really hard, really tough. I don't know. I don't think I could possibly do it. It takes a whole long time for me to. I don't know. Each book takes a long time in a different way. Sometimes clarifying what it's going to be, or writing it itself seems difficult for one reason or another, or I don't like it and have to junk whole sections. I mean, it just everything is hard in one way or another, I think. So.
Sunny, was this your COVID book? Is this your sort of cocooning for COVID book?
Yeah. Although I had
the question was this her cocooning in COVID?
COVID. Yeah. And it really was. It really was. Although I had done parts of it, I particularly like one character we haven't talked about very much, who is the artist who did have an art gallery, who is now has Alzheimer's. She was one of my absolute favorite characters, and and there was a lot more Susan in it than there ended up being finally. So, you know, you have to go back and revision and put the parts in some kind of sense. So I was, but it's good to have. I mean, everybody I know wrote a novel during COVID. Even many people who are not writers.
There's another question back here.
I was curious to know if there was motivation was for the change in POV and tense for each character.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot going on here stylistically. Yeah, there really is. I think it's because Susan was an artist, and there's a whole lot, and she had an art gallery at the beginning, you know, and when Herb meets her, he goes into her art gallery, and he falls in love with her and just buys everything, you know, pretty much. But, yeah, I don't know. So there's a whole lot of changing of point of view, and it's, in my mind, it's almost like each one of these little chapters is like a painting. Okay, it's like an art gallery, and each one has its own point of view, and it almost has its own language, depending on what it is. And as I say, when it's Susan, she's thinking in poems, you know, and art. Because Dee Dee's got her drawing on a big board out in the garden, and so on. So the style is real different. Each character sort of thinks and speaks in a completely different style. And I kept thinking, and also for some reason, each section is like a painting to me, and each section is like it's on a wall, and this is like a little gallery, Susan's gallery somehow, and it's like each one is on the wall, and I just see it up there with a title, and so somehow each chapter has a title, like it's a painting, and each one often is a little thing. So I don't know, this book just presented itself to me very differently, you know, and I just kind of went with it. And I think my editor was very indulgent.
Well, but the intuitive choices work so well because, you know, Herb is third person, so we're observing him, you know, and there's no sort of self-reflection. He just is who he is, like a bull in a china shop. He does not self-reflect. Whereas Dee Dee is first person and is very present, and so you have someone who is basically only seeing the next step right in front of her. She's someone really learning and finding her way. And we're seeing it the way she is seeing everything and experiencing it through her. So those choices, I think, really work very well for the stories.
There are a few where I think it's almost like one of those paintings on the wall in Susan's gallery, like in the garden, because Susan has a wonderful, wonderful garden, a tropical garden, and it's, you know, there's no people at all in some of the garden scenes. You know, it's just these leaves and things. I don't know. I just this book came with its own terms somehow. It presented with its own sections.
It reminded me, but in the Susan sections, I thought of your wonderful short story that was in the Atlantic Monthly years ago. The man who has lost his nouns.
Oh,
remember?
yeah.
What's the name of the story?
I've lost it.
I'm terrible. Well, it's just a wonderful short story about dementia, about language, and about love. Really, these people who find each other, but it's the back and forth searching for a word, and it's really vivid when you're in Susan's mind. And again, you know, just the list of anything that comes to her mind, all connected by color.
And there's lots of color.
Because she was an artist.
Because she was an artist, and she, you know, she thinks in colors. So this was a really fun book to write, as you can tell.
You were going to read.
Oh, I was going to read from the section where that gives it its title, I guess. And this is when they have been in the car and they are driving along, and this is what they see. 15 minutes later, that's when they see it, high up. A huge flashing electronic sign like a banner which extends across the entire interstate highway, Route 1, northbound and southbound, all 8 lanes. Silver alert, Porsche Carrera 2001, canary yellow VKE, call 347. She sees it first. Look, that's us, isn't it? That's our car, that's us. Well, I'll be goddamn. Herb strikes the wheel so hard that the Porsche veers into the center lane before he can correct it. Mr. Atlas, what are you doing? She squeals. Sorry, honey, I guess the jig is up. For the first time today, Herb feels really, really old. What are you talking about? What's the jig? They got a police alert out for us for this car. A silver alert, that must be like an amber alert, what they put out when young girls go missing. If it's up here on this highway, that means it'll be up on every highway in Florida. Trust me. She still doesn't get it. Well, why does it say silver alert then if it's about us? That's me, honey. I'm old. It's my car. That silver means geezer. Geezer on the run. But I'm here too, she cries out. Me too. They've got a police alert out for me too, don't they? Oh yeah, you bet. And I'm sorry, honey. I'm real sorry I got you into all this trouble. I guess I was using some real bad judgment. It's all my fault. I'll tell him that. You won't get in any trouble. I swear. He could kick his own ass for doing this. Stupid old fool. What was he thinking? But when he looks over at the girl again, she's not heartbroken. She's not crying. She doesn't even look upset. Instead, she's sitting up straight in her seat, smiling, literally beaming. Her whole face is lit up like the sun. That's me, she says in a kind of wonderment. That's me they're looking for, too. On every billboard, on every highway, all across Florida, all over the state. That's what you said. Florida is one of the largest states in the union. Then he watches in astonishment while she opens her purse and carefully puts on her lipstick. Hot pink. She powders her nose before giving him her biggest, pinkest smile. Okie dokie, she says, I guess I'm ready. We'll probably be on TV, don't you think, since we're so famous? And maybe on the internet, too? Sounds like you want to be arrested, Herb says. Probably the smart thing to do would be just go ahead and turn ourselves in, you know, right now. Exit, next exit, face the music. What music, she asks. Thinking maybe she'll get a chance to sing. In front of all those cameras. Maybe she'll be discovered.
We're good. Oh, we're good on time.
Okay.
Oh, I love that.
Well,
And, throughout Dee Dee, there's a lot of, it's me, Dee Dee. She signs her letters that way, you know, so she's really looking
And she's
for
been
her
through some
place.
hard stuff, too, which you will learn as you read.
Yeah. We have time for a few more questions if there are any. Yes.
I noticed there were several, you get to meet several characters who are falling in love. You know, Dee Dee and Willie at the laundromat, and then Herb and his first wife, Herb and Susan.
Yeah.
And can you talk about like developing that, talking about Herb as a young man and that whole part? Because I just love that glimpse into him with his first wife.
Oh, thank you. I love that. From Buffalo. He's from Buffalo, and they go to the beach. Yeah, I love that. I don't know. You just think with Herb, and then you think, okay, what would he remember that would be just straight from the heart, since he's gotten to be such a tough old man, you know? And it was him and his first wife when they were just kids, you know, riding their bikes around Buffalo and going to the beach together, and then going to the beach that time right before he went in the service, you know, and everything. And I don't know. It's just you know, everybody's got something. Every tough old man has got something that he would, you know, would remember like that. So it's a great pleasure to figure out what it might be. Yeah.
So when you were sitting down to write, did you just go like,
oh, I've got a chapter in my head, and sit down and write that. Or do you go, I don't really feel like right now, go for a walk, or how do you, or do you really strict? I'm writing from 8 a.m. to, 11.
No, I'm not very structured. I'm not. I don't know. I think I figured out the trip, kind of how the trip, where the trip was going to be, and so on. But then the backstory, and she's got quite a backstory. This girl too, and it's set back where I'm from. She's from my part of the world, from Appalachia, and her. But I spend a whole lot of time just making it up without writing. I just write notes on legal pads, like this, and I'm making up her whole life up until the point when we meet her there in Key West, and I'm making up Herb's whole life, and that wonderful, the girl, the girl that from the neighborhood that he married, and then he's in the service, and then all this, and so, there's all that, and just figuring all that out and making all that up, and until you have these people with big real lives that everything until the moment they meet and this story starts. So there's a whole lot of things that never go into this book, but that I'm figuring out, and research I'm doing, And there was actually my cardiologist, who was really old, was from Buffalo, and he and his wife had been together since they were children. He had been a child that was abandoned, and her family took him in, and he grew up there, and so that was their thing at the beach in Buffalo, and he went on all that. So anyway, I don't know. I just figure out everybody's life up until the point where the novel's going to start, and that takes a considerable amount of time, and it's such a pleasure. So, yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you write about old people differently now?
Yes.
I'm not finished. From the way you wrote, say, 35 or 40 years ago about old people.
I do, yeah, I do. I've always had a lot of older characters, though, because I grew up in the mountains, of Appalachia, Southwest Virginia, and we revered our older people. We really did, and I knew a lot of old ladies who were just tough as nails. Lou Crabtree, oh my God. And just that I wrote about in earlier novels that are very much Appalachian novels, because I wanted so much to use all that wonderful material. And many of those older women were so important to me growing up. And they told me all these stories, that I really needed to hear. So, yeah, I thought about old people a lot all along, I think. But now it's real different.
Now you are one.
Now, exactly. That's it. Being one is what I just said.
You're not.
So, oh, yeah, listen. Oh, yes, I am. I really am. But anyway, sure. It's just each part of your life. But I did gain so much from the older women, in particular in the mountains. I spent so much time taping them because they talk more than the men, and at least in that part of the country, and getting history from them and so on and all that. So I've always thought about age a lot and older people. So there's one.
I'm wondering, as you said before, you even put this all together. You were kind of scratching around with all these different characters as far as who might appear coming together in Key West. So were there a lot of concepts of people, characters that basically didn't make the cut?
Yep. They're sitting over there waiting up for their novel. Living their thumb. That's true. That's true. I think my husband says that my biggest problem as a writer is that I have too many people in my books, and I think that's quite true. Particularly some of them. Now I can look back and read them, more critically, and that's just completely true.
Did you hear that? Somebody out here said they're waiting to be famous. Like Didi. Yeah, here's.
Speaking of oral tradition, do you think because so many people are consuming books now, audiobooks, that writers are writing differently than they did, say, 20 years ago or 30 years ago?
I want to ask Jill that. What do you think? I scared her. I think that's a really good question.
It is interesting because I drive a lot and I listen to a lot, and what it has led me to do is to go back and buy the book I've listened to, because the whole time I'm driving, I'm writing down chapter numbers because I need to see the sentence. But there's also something really wonderful about hearing the language real time, and we sometimes get away from the effect. But Lee's characters speak in such a way that it's hard to read it and not really hear the language.
But I do think that we're going more toward this now, because so many people are listening to books and I have no idea whether this is true or not. Maybe Kathy could address this, but I'm wondering if more books aren't being written in first person, coming into you in first person, just because we're also hearing people. What do you think?
That's a good question. I don't really, I'm not sure if it's changed or not, but I do feel like audiobooks have gotten so huge.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to go check.
Well, because they're presented more like a play. It's not like being in a room listening to someone read a book to you. It's like listening to a play, because the actors do all the different voices. Yeah. So it's a different experience. I think when it's a memoir, you get that first person voice that stays straight through. Yes. But this book is begging to be a movie. It is begging to be a movie. I can see it all so clearly. And I told you this even when you told me the idea in the beginning with that section when she looks up and is so excited, that it's about her. Has there been?
No, not so far as I know. I haven't heard anything about that. So, I don't know. That would be nice. But I think it would be good just because
it's so
a spectacular scene. It is,
Well, and there's just the movement throughout, of this road trip.
Yeah. But I'm happy to say that another Algonquin author, Silas House, his Key West novel is really going to be, Southernmost is being made, and it's being made by some really good people. So it's happening, and I'm very, very excited about that.
That is exciting.
Yeah, Silas was my student way back when he was a rural postman in Kentucky. So I'm feeling real proud of him.
Is that the one about the storm, Southernmost?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we have time for one more question. I'm being given the signal.
Well, we want to know what's next.
I have no idea. At this point, I seem to be writing short stories again. And so I'm not sure. I seem to be, at this age, maybe that's a good idea. I can remember what's going on.
Okay, I can tell you that for the past 15 years, at least, Lee Smith, at the end of every novel, has said, "That's my last novel." And so I'm not believing anything she says. There are probably many legal pads already filled and waiting.
Well, I like to read myself, so I look forward to lots of reading.
Okay, well, thank you, Lee. And thank thank you to everyone for coming. What a great
We
crowd.
really